everyone. Good evening. I am very happy to be here tonight. This will be a recorded session, so those of you who can make it at the actual time, you will be able to join later on. I am beyond happy to be here with you tonight. We're going to be talking about a topic that is one of my favorite topics. Actually, I had the drive to come up with this workshop because recently I started teaching again play schoolers, which are children in my at my learning center, ages 3 through 6, and I started observing the play schemas every day. So my main objective tonight is to share with you valuable information. Um, Before we get started, this is being streamed, so there will be a little bit of a delay um, with me presenting and you responding. But please, as I speak, I will answer all questions at the end. So you can enter every single question that you have while I'll speak, and then I'll go back to them. I would also love to know if you're an educator, if you're a parent, if you're both, and why are you here? Why are you so interested to learn about play schemas and how they work? For tonight's presentation, I had a hard time deciding which pictures to add. So it will have a lot of pictures, a lot of visuals, a lot of information for you to follow along. And I will also give you more ideas and more to use the play schema. So it will be helpful if you have paper and pen handy. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. How to understand play through play schemas. When we understand play through play schemas, everything makes sense. And I don't understand why this is not one of the major topics when you're studying education or when you become a parent. This is so helpful because this is key to high level independent play. When I talk about high level independent play, give me 1 second. Maddie, you are in the wrong link. So I'm going to send you the right link. Okay, or you can stay there and observe, but you're behind the scenes. All right, so here we go. When we understand how play really works and how play schemas work, you will have a lot of aha moments, and you will actually think of play in a different way. When I talk about high level play, I don't talk about complex materials or expensive materials. I talk about creativity. I will be looking for challenge. I will be looking for complexity of the process. And play starts evolving with age. Children in early childhood, ages 0 through 6, are growing actually very, very fast. So you will see how that evolves over time. So I am multitasking here because I want to be back and forth within screen. So let me go back to this one. All right, so what is a play scheme? A play scheme is how our children actually learn to make sense of the world. We as adults, we also have schemas. We have plans. We have sets of instructions that we follow absolutely every day to perform an action. Same thing happens with children. What is different when it comes to children is that they are exploring and they are actually using schemas to understand cause and effect, how actually things work around in their own world. They're making sense of this information. So, for example, if you are going to cook at home, you're making dinner, you're going to follow a recipe. For us, follow that plan is executive functions. You will have steps. Children, in order to perform an action, are going to go into trial and error the majority of the time, cause and effect, and are going to explore the different steps to get to that particular action. Sorry, let me move back. Schemas represent the current state of their knowledge. Over time, as they explore further, we come to realize that we had gaps within that plan, and that we needed to perform a different action to come up with with a particular expectation. When we modify all these actions, children start to realize, if I bounce the ball, it will bounce back. A typical example of this, and parents usually say, oh, when kids are babies and they are eating and they start throwing all the food to the floor. So they just drop the spoon or drop the food and they start laughing, and parents think, oh my God, this is, they're thinking about food as a game, and it is a game to them. They're exploring cause and effect, and you will realize that that action is a play schema. This is a trajectory play schema. Children are discovering that if they drop the food, food is not going back up, and that it has a way to go down, but it won't come up. If I bounce a ball, that ball will bounce, and I will engage into that other movement and repetition. When we talk about play schemas, we're always talking about movement. These are actions that are going to be repeated back and forth. All right. Go back. Sorry, this one. All right. So, I will give you a lot of visuals within this presentation. And I know I have really fun and cool toys, but my main objective here is to give you examples and ideas of activities that you can do to ignite curiosity and to get children engaged into play schemas in a very simple way. No prep, with materials that you can actually find at home. So I also want you to open your minds and be creative. For example, for instance, you have these magnetic tiles. If you don't have magnetic tiles, it could be yogurt cups. It could be bottle caps instead of pompons. Everything can be achieved with creativity. And I will try to give you as many examples as possible. We're going to start to understand also within this presentation what is the benefit of actually knowing what play schemas are. When we understand this schema or physical manifestation, when children start to understand these manifestations within their actions, they're able to consider more abstract concepts and applications. So this goes hand in hand with complex play. When children start knowing how things happen and how objects move and how to engage in this type of play, they can come up and build more complex thoughts. Play is something that will evolve within time and with age. So play schemas are observed in the majority within the first 6 years of age. Past 6 years old, children can still exhibit some behaviors of play schemas, but they will start to vanish. Why? Because their cognitive process is going to evolve and their ideas are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and they will come up with their own ways of playing, their own ideas, their own creations. And even in those creations, you will start seeing play schemas, but not as hooks. They will be part of their play, but they won't be the reason why they connect with play. In early childhood, play schemas are a magnet. That's the way children are actually connected to those activities, because they actually have something in common. So you will see some children have some preferred play schemas. Some children engage with them all. The majority of children love them all, but you will see that some have specific desired play schemas within their play and preference. It usually happens within the first 6 years of age, as I mentioned, and it starts getting more complex and complex as they master the skills. So we're going to talk about all the different play schemas. I'm going to give you a visual of each play schema. I'm going to explain how it works. And I'm also going to illustrate what can you do at home or at school. So don't forget, if you are here, please tell me if you're a parent, an educator, or both here in the chat. All right, so the first, and this, I love this wheel because you can actually see them all connecting with each other. So these schemas are action schemas. They help us to make mental images of models of movement. They help to represent our actions within play. All right, the first one. The first one is one of my favorite, and you will probably hear me say this many times. But the first one is a play schema that one of my children, Alberto, my middle child, has enjoyed ever since he was a baby. So I will be sharing with you a lot of videos of how he actually engages within play with this schema and how it has evolved over time. Positioning. So if your children, they love to position, let's say, cars or objects when they are playing, seating dolls, that has a reason why. When your child is exploring their positioning schema, they get a set of skills and activities, a set of skills that will have to do with math, with logic, with fine motor development, with stacking objects, moving objects back and forth. We start exploring patterns. We start working with executive functions. A lot of organization, planification takes place within these play schemas. These play schema will also develop all these relationships between objects when it comes to building. Building incorporates a lot of play schemas. So how does it look like? It looks like this. So you will see children lining up objects, lining up cars, lining up stones, lining up sticks, lining up all sorts of objects. This right here, I'm going to show you a video of Alberto. I think he was close to being 2 or around that age, probably less. Probably he was younger. So this was cool. He was lining up all his Disney character stuffies still in his crib. He was probably not even 2. And here the beauty was
Daisy.
So of course I knew what he was doing, but I love to observe. If you notice, he was even not only lining them up, but he was organizing them by size. So here, this right here is math at its best. So I started observing that he would line up absolutely everything. And I would just observe his behavior. He didn't even, he was not able to speak then.
¿Está listo para dormir?
All right, so all right. So he was probably around 2. What this indicated was that he was predominant when it came to positioning. So I knew that was my hook. I started providing open-ended toys. I started providing blocks, magnetic tiles, because I knew that he was going to engage with that type of play. If I go back, let me see if I go back within the presentation. Let me quit this. Okay, 1 second. All right, if I go back to this presentation here, this right here was a play invitation that I did for Alberto. So he built this. Let me put it bigger. Give me 1 second because I don't know why am I not. Let me share it again because the video, since I did full screen, was not showing the right way. Give me one sec. Hmm. 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 One sec. Hmm. Okay, there we go. All right. Now we have it here. All right, so I started offering more resources that he could line up and that he would actually enjoy when it came to play. Let's check it out. So if you see, well, aside from not wanting to share with his brother, he would always use positioning for whatever activity he would encounter. So I knew that that was my magnet. Up to till this day, he's an expert when it comes to building. He has a 3D brain. He can build whatever he wants because he was exposed early on to this type of play. So what can you do when children show positioning place schemas and when they are strong? Do I only um, invite those children who have strong positioning skills into positioning activities? Of course not. You will invite every single child to play with positioning, and some will engage and some won't. So the first picture shows an invitation to play involving positioning skills. So I basically just traced some lines with marker and put some loose parts. In this case, I use vase fillers because I really like them. They are a great loose part. If your child is under 3, you need to make sure that they don't put them in their mouth. Some parents actually question me and they ask me, Mariana, but my child will swallow that bead. And we also have to think and observe the children, because some children, actually, I think Alberto started playing with little objects when he was 1.5. Max started playing with objects that were small when he was 3 because he was super oral. So as long as you are with them and you're always supervising and you trust your child, you can always expose them to loose part plays, play with small objects. If you see the picture in the middle, this child was a student of mine. He was 5 at this age, at this time. Let me make it bigger. And the middle picture shows a lot of positioning. So you can see how he positioned all these beads around the house, around his creation. He did more loose parts here against the barrier. He built, this is another play schema that you will see later on. He surrounded the balls with this barrier, but he was was within an enclosed surface, which is another play schema, but he used positioning to build this particular creation that he was doing. So just by having loose parts, you will be providing children positioning play opportunities. When it comes to positioning, they can position large things. And I want you also to think, all play schemas start with our bodies. We can position ourselves. You don't need to have an object to actually position the object. You can start with your own self, positioning people in order. When we provide children with open-ended play, this happens, but they really love the small things to position. They will always be attracted to the bead, to the stone, to the I love the baby pouches caps. I collect them all, and those are great for loose part play. They are not only used for crafts. You can have a tray, sort them by color, or just have them mix in a bowl and add them into your play space. You can have corks, you can have bottle caps, and add them to your play space to merge that specific material with blocks or um, with magnets. If you see the last picture, this is also Alberto. He loves to find, and this is something that came out of his interest for positioning. He loves to find stories and find positioning within stories. So every single time he encounters a story with a sequence of objects, he will immediately reproduce that story with whatever object that he finds to represent the story. So positioning also happens in books, and you will see it happen in stories, and you can use that particular story to recreate it using all the open-ended resources. All right, so let's keep going. Transporting. So there's no coincidence. This type of play meets an inner need to make sense of the world and to understand the relationship between object, space, and movement. It also supports motor development and organizational thinking and autonomy in action. So there's no coincidence when it comes to all these carts, all the babies pushing the supermarket cart, all those walking and all those walkers, and those objects that need to be pushed. When we talk about um, transporting, we are taking objects from one place to another. So it's not necessarily just leaving the object there, but us going with the object. So toddlers love transporting themselves with all these carts. You can also transport objects when it comes to sensory play. Sensory play is one of the best ways to nurture play schemas. So if you see Alberto in this last picture, we were at a restaurant, and he just grabbed a cup and started filling it up with stones, and he was transporting the stones into the truck, back and forth, back and forth. We can transport sticks, we can transport pebbles, we can transport water. The best loose parts are found in nature and are free, and they're surrounding us: water, dirt, leaves, sticks. So this is a video of my children where they were little, also enjoying transportation in the other. This is one of the best things that I've probably had. So this is a little wagon, and the handle was short. You actually move easily and transport objects from one place to the other. And have you noticed how toddlers love to bring things from one place to the other? When they're starting walking, they love to transport themselves to the table, from the table to the couch, back and forth. All of that movement and repetitive action. I forgot to say this. Play schemas are repetitive behaviors. They continue to happen over and over and over. So what can we do when it comes to transportation? When it comes to transportation, we want to make sure that we provide these type of objects. So having purses to play, and purses are not only for girls. Boys can also enjoy purses. Having purses, having baskets, having little containers, having sensory play with containers, with water. In this case, you see, I did this with my children at the learning center the other day. Just petals from old flowers. We can just use the petals and transport the objects from one place to another. You can have two buckets. They always want to move things back and forth. Also think about invitations like this one. So if you have grains and sensory play. That's always an experience that will involve transporting, because they will want to carry all these things and place them inside each other. So when you think about, let's say, all the Tupperwares, so parents usually say, my child loves to open the drawer where all the Tupperwares are and all the containers are, and they spend hours playing with those containers. What they like is not necessarily the container. They like taking the containers out of the drawer back and forth and putting things inside those containers. So here, the scattered pompons on the floor and tools to pick up the pompons. And in this case, I use magnetic tiles and I use some pots and pans. They will immediately grab those things and put them inside the containers. And when we have invitations to play like this, you don't tell the kids what to do. You just observe. You just observe. An invitation to play is something that you set up and observe. That's your biggest job when it comes to play. You're observing play, you're observing the behavior. If the child doesn't start playing, you start playing and you model with your actions. You're not telling the children what to do. But this specifically will want to get children engaged into transporting these things back and forth. I'm not going to lie. When children turn 5 or 6, they need less and less and less invitations to play because, as I mentioned before, um, their their play is already at such level that they need less invitation to create an action, because they will be connected immediately with that action and they will create their own idea, their own world when it comes um, to the specific material that they are using. Choosing the right materials is important, because when we choose the right materials, children will use them over and over again to explore play schemas. Play schemas nurture the brain. Play schemas um, is how we will get children playing independently. My children play independently since they were 2.5, and many will argue, yes, but you have two and they play within each other. I also have, Elena was an only child for 5 years and she played by herself. But this is not a secret recipe. This comes with limiting screen time, because if there's no boundary, they will always prefer screens over play. This comes with having the right resources. And you don't need to have expensive toys. You just need to have the right resources. What do I mean by right resources? If you don't have magnetic tiles, if you don't have pots, you can find your Tupperware, your containers, recycle corks, recycle materials, and place them in the play space. I have all these beautiful toys because this is my job, but you can do this with recycled materials 100%. It comes to creativity. Actually, somewhere I have my social media, and I don't remember where. One year I set up a complete block play area without blocks, just using recyclables. And it was fascinating because children get connected with materials themselves and the opportunities that materials can give them when it comes to play. Now that I'm seeing this picture here, I use the egg cartons, and I think that you will see them further on in my presentation at all times. Why? Because those little tiny holes will always invite children to put things inside them. So corks, bottle caps, recycle pouches, caps, not the pouches, the pouch cap. All the little things. When you start having eyes for loose parts, you will discover magic, because the children will use them in many different ways. Sometimes I have the egg carton myself laying in my kitchen, and I start collecting things over the week. And by the end of the week, I have a full tray of treasures that I can pair with Play-Doh, or that I can play with block play, or that I can pair with magnets. Even like if you like to drink beer, I'm not a beer drinker, but if you like to drink beer, all those caps are magnetic. You can pair them with the magnetic tiles, and they absolutely love it. All right, so let's keep going. All right, connecting. Another play schema that you probably have seen and observed in children. So when children love connecting, they're putting things together. The connecting schema isn't just manual, it is cognitive too. Why? Because children are figuring out how things work together, how they join, come apart, and relate. This kind of play strengthens fine motor skills, hand eye coordination, and logical thinking. So, if you think about this, and we've always only talked about three play schemas, think how powerful play is. Play is giving children the major components within academics through play that, and these all these skills are required and needed further on along the line to be able to be successful when it comes to academics. We are depriving children from the most valuable action of playing at schools. Children are not playing at schools. Children get home and they're exhausted. They have after school activities one after the other, and they never get to play. And we're taking away the biggest treasure, which is play and all the benefits that it has to offer. If you think about these play schemas, they're not just play. We're talking math, we're talking physics, we're talking overall development, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, eye-hand coordination, visual spatial relationships. We're thinking logical thinking. So when we talk about connecting, we're putting objects together. So if you see here, I'm going to talk about different ways to connect objects, because we tend to think that connecting only has to do with toys that connect, and that is not true. We can offer different means of connection through various materials. So when we talk about, let's say, playing with trains, we have to connect the tracks. When we are connecting Lego, we're connecting Lego. Now the Clixos, the magnetic tiles, those are all commercial materials that connect per se. But we can also find different mediums to connect objects. Let's start by thinking our own hands. We can connect ourselves by holding hands. We can connect paper with staples. We can connect paper with glue. We can connect cardboard with glue. We can connect cardboard. I love these make-do materials that are also commercial and you use to connect. We can connect things with yarn, with thread. We can connect things with straw. We can connect things and objects with Play-Doh. Play-Doh is one of my best and one of the materials that I use the most. And you will see me using Play-Doh with blocks, and think outside the box, because at the beginning, when I started using Play-Doh, I was so rigid and I'm like, I'm only using my cutters for the Play-Doh. I'm also using my Play-Doh tools for the Play-Doh. And no, Play-Doh can be used with a lot of materials. Think about blocks. Children love connecting blocks to Play-Doh. All the loose parts that are coming out of your kitchen, all the corks, all the bottle caps, all the baby pouches caps, all the straws can be part of Play-Doh play. And Play-Doh is a mean of connection. The middle picture shows the brain flakes, which are very accessible. It's a very accessible toy that you can also use to connect. And of course, magnetic tiles. I will never stop recommending magnetic tiles. For me, magnetic tiles and blocks are the two must-haves in every single home and in every single classroom, because the amount of skills that this material will develop is immense. And not only the skills they develop, they're so open-ended that you can use them with whatever you want. They can create whatever you want out of these materials. Stop buying all the frozen castles. Stop buying all these one used only product that they will never see again, and they will be bored about of that material in a question of days or months. The opportunities that open-ended toys have to offer is endless. What it looks like. So when it comes to connection, you might think, and I already talked too much, you might think about these ones. These are the shows that they snap. I absolutely love these because you can pair them with the magnetic tiles and you can also create. When I put my hands on Clixos for the first time, which is actually that video, I thought this is so complicated. This is so complex. Children will not be able to use these. You have no idea the things that children create. We are the ones who cannot use these materials because we're not programmed this way, because we were not exposed to loose parts play, because we were not exposed to open-ended play when we were growing up. So we think inside that box. But children, when they're exposed to this type of play, can do magic. So what can you do? So we talked about Play-Doh. Offering Play-Doh is a must. I also talk a lot about a Play-Doh tray. Having a Play-Doh tray with Play-Doh. I like to change the props when it comes to Play-Doh play. And let's be honest and let's be real. How often should you change props? As often as you can and feel that you could be committed and successful. That does not mean every week. That is impossible. So use the loose parts placing parts that you have in that tray in your kitchen and swap things over. I like to use holidays as part of my Play-Doh tray. So I keep buying little things back and forth or adding only those colors to the trays because that breaks the routine and gives them something new to look after. Sometimes I make homemade Play-Doh because I like to use that one so they can mix it. Sometimes I buy the Play-Doh, and sometimes I bring special Play-Doh that I don't want to have them mix it so they cannot mix it. Shaving cream. Everyone loves shaving cream. And the children love shaving cream not only because it's messy. They love shaving cream because it feels good, because you can connect things with shaving cream. Give a child shaving cream, a spatula, and whatever loose parts. Even like I've done it with these pool noodles. Cut the pool noodles and offer that material. When you pair materials and children start to explore, that is a really great way of offering a connection experience. And when we talk about shaving cream, it's not only connection. You will also see different play schemas. You will see trajectory, which we'll be talking about how that material moves from one place to the other. You will also see enclosing. You will also see enveloping, which has to do with that feeling of covering everything with the particular resource. You'll see the bottle caps. These are great to pair with magnets. Glue is one of the children's favorite mean to connect. And children ages 3, 4, and 5, no, 3 and 4, the majority of the time, will use that glue nonstop, and they will squeeze that bottle, and they will use absolutely every single drop. And you know what? That is okay, because they're discovering this magical liquid that is sticking everything together. And they're discovering and making sense of that particular material through play schemas. When we squirt that glue, we're seeing the trajectory of the glue. And then we're going to also discover how it connects things with each other. Little by little, that interest of using the entire glue bottle is going to vanish because that need is already met. And I want to evolve the play schema. The child will want to learn more, and they will want to learn how to actually do something more complex. Last week, I had a lot of cardboard scraps, and they were laying around. And when I see a material, and I think about throwing a material away, I always think, what else can I do with this? So there were cardboard scraps because they had been cutting with the cardboard machine. And I just grabbed all the glue I could possibly get, gave them a large cardboard, and they were all gluing together. And they made the most beautiful cardboard collage that now is going up in the wall at the Learning Center. And it was all through exploration of this connection play schema. As you see, Play-Doh again here with buttons. Transformation. Transformation is a play schema that children love as well. And I like to pair transformation with sensory play as well. Children are fascinated by change. And when we talk about change, we're immediately talking about science. So we already talk about math with many of the play schemas. We talk about gross motors. We talk about sensory play and what it has to offer. And now we're talking science. How does it come about? What is the difference between before and after? These are questions that children always have when it comes to transformation. Can that change be reversed? And all these open ended questions happen as they play. Our role is to either question the children without giving them the answer, because part of this journey is discovering through play. If we give them the answer, the wonder is gone and the inquiry is also gone. We want children to be able to explore play and the world around themselves, building hypotheses, building ideas as we move and play. So we want to explore colors, and you will see a lot of colors when it comes to transformation. We want to experience playing with, for example, transformation can include mud, can include all the sensory experience, oobleck, making Play-Doh by itself, cooking, recipes. Those are all great examples of transformation. When we talk about play schemas, very often you will see more than one play schema in a particular activity, and that's fine. Children will just be attracted by that. There are some children that do not like to get dirty, and that has to do more with sensory needs. And that is okay. We can offer a spoon if we're mixing, and little by little start offering more and more as we go. So what it looks like. So think about water with I use liquid color tempera paint, watercolors, because that's easier. I'm not a fan of food colorings, and they could cause allergic reactions, so I tend to stay away. So just mixing colors. A tip here is try to mix in colors within the same color palette or primary colors, because if you offer all different colors together, of course, it's also part of the discovery. It will turn brown. So the more similar colors, the better, because they will be able to extend play much longer. It will end up being brown or black at the end, but I try to stay within the same colors or use primary colors for them to start playing with. When it comes to paint and you see kids just sticking their hands in and mixing everything up, that's no coincidence. That has to do with enveloping, which you will see later on, and with this transformation, what is happening to that paint. And the best way to know and discover all these changes is using our body. Let's see. This was Max as a baby with the first finger paint experience. And when we talk about transformation, you need to embrace mess. And you also need to choose the day, because if you want to play with paint, you want to make sure that you want to clean up that paint. I choose the days. I do it over the weekend. I choose wisely, because I'm not always prepared to deal with hosing down my kids or with cleaning everything around me. I rather have children mix with Play-Doh one day, and then I will incorporate water the day that I feel that I can deal with that as well. So it's not every day that you're ready for complex play invitations. So what can you do? You offer different types of materials, and different types of relationships within materials. So for instance, painting objects and with different colors, that will be color mixing. Here in this particular first activity, I had the children paint animals. They were all over the place because that painting toys, what do you mean? That's something that we would never get to do. And they discovered the color mixing, playing with water. You see the famous egg cartons to the right. This is a beautiful activity that I did a couple weeks ago. And these are liquid watercolors, and they were mixing the colors in the cotton ball, and the water ran slower in that cotton ball, so they were actually observing the whole process, seeing how they were mixing together, not necessarily by mixing the liquids, but mixing the liquid in the cotton. So that's beautiful science experiment that is also nurturing all the play schemas. um, Everything that has to do with changes and states of matter. So freezing water, cubes, colors within cubes. That is a great way of experiencing and playing with transformation. Painting here, mixing colors has to do with that as well. All right, so rotation. When do we have children engage with rotation? And there's, what do you think we're going to learn with rotation? So physics are coming next. When we talk about rotation, schema appears when children are drawn to circular movements. So when things spin, when things roll. So think about spinning lids, tops, wheels, hula hoops, or even twirling themselves. So rolling down the hill with our bodies. This kind of play reflects a need to understand circular motion, force, direction, speed, and coordination. It also stimulates balance and the vestibular system, which is so important. And I am going to make a confession here with this play schema, but it's coming next. All right, so what it looks like. So you will see children playing with wheels and cars and just rolling cars back and forth. You will see screwdrivers or tracing around circles. That's usually how you observe this play schema. What can we do? So offer things that involve these circular movements. Ball runs. Use engage children into making ball runs, and this is more complex. This ball run to the right was built by 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, and this is what it looks like. This is rotation at a higher level, because children who love the rotation schema, these were my garage children who were obsessed with balls and with runs, and they were past the commercial ball runs. They wanted to create their own ball runs, and they did. And this is exactly what I refer to high level play, because it's all new ideas put into practice, teamed with their interest and their schema of preference. The schema is present even at an older age, and their play evolved. So when it comes to mixing, when we mix, we're mixing in circular movements, and here we're also transforming. We're also enclosing. So many play schemas all together. All ramps will always be. And here I'm showing you this toy, but you can also think about pipes and having pipes outdoors and just using them with water or with objects or with balls or with cars. So a couple of days ago, right now we are at a temporary space for the learning center, and I saw these boys, and this is where my confession comes. There are things that trigger me, and the constant noises kill me. And they were rolling the car back and forth to the wall, and bang, bang, bang. And the Grinch inside me was thinking, I am going to take away all those cars because I cannot stand that bang, bang, bang. And instead of being a Grinch, I thought, there is a very obvious need when it comes to play. here in this space. The space is huge, so they feel like they can do that. And yes, they can do that. That's play. It's just me that's being annoyed by the car. So the car went back and forth, boom, 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 boom. So the next day, I said, you know what? I cannot survive another day with those cars. So I went to the learning center and grabbed all sorts of cylinders. And that's when I tell you that I collect objects. I was collecting the cylinders because these kids needed to build ramps and they needed to build ways to use those cars instead of banging them against the wall. And it worked because what they are engaged is not the car, is how the trajectory, another play schema of that car, how it's the speed of the car against the wall, how fast they can get, the distance, and they are exploring that type of play. So yes, it worked because they were trying to even connect the cylinders to make longer ramps. And I was nurturing that play schema. But I am telling you with honesty that yes, sometimes you get out of your comfort zone and you cannot stand getting dirty or that specific noise. And you have to think, all right, so where is this coming from? How can I problem solve what's not working? I also had another incident that happened. I have, when it comes to playtime, I got like these little tiny magnetic tiles, and I had like two sets for 8 children who were engaged. When you talk about 2 sets for 8 children, that's nothing. They cannot build anything with 8 sets. So either you have to do more stations or have more material for them to play. That when it comes to a school setting. All right. So enveloping. This schema appears when children cover objects. So when I was talking about shaving cream, they love to cover themselves. I have a little girl, and their parents are here listening, that whenever I offer sensory play, she covers herself with the paint or the water, and she wants to actually swim into the tray. The other day I had oatmeal, and she was all the way in. She was covering her hair. She was like just showering in oatmeal because it feels good. The sensory input feels good, but that girl is hooked to this particular play schema. So when it comes to having students in a specific play setting, because when you're a parent, it's very obvious. You have one child, you know. When you're a teacher, one of the things that I like to do is observe their schema of preference, because I know that I will get myself covered with amazing play experiences if I offer that particular play schema in different presentations to the child who needs it. I observed right now, I have a child who I have observed loves connecting. So I'm already thinking, what other connection activities and invitations can I give this particular child? Because that will keep that child busy, connected, engaged into that specific activity, and that will evolve into another interest later on. So going back to enveloping. So we can support this by offering materials for covering. So fabrics, wrapping paper, envelopes, ribbons, Play-Doh, boxes, soft clothes or clothing, textures like shaving cream. They love that. So for example, when you have dolls offering like little swaddles and wraps, they would be thrilled to play with that. So these little soft fabric squares that I've had them for years. They use them to cover themselves. They use them to, when it comes to block play, and for the surfaces to cover their creations. When it comes to costumes are a great way of practicing enveloping because they are covering themselves. They are expressing themselves in a different way. When it comes to um, textures, also these kids swimming in those textures, they are putting all their body parts inside the textures. They're covering themselves with that texture. Babies, when it comes to babies, think about peekaboo. This by itself is a play schema right there when they're young. um, Textures once more. So sensory play. If you've observed, sensory play attracts absolutely every play schema. And if you pair it with in early childhood, if you pair it with fine motor props, you're talking pre-writing, you're talking, if you pair it with stories, pre-reading, and all this sensory input is preparing children for reading, for math, for writing, right there through play, nurturing play schemas from an early age. Enclosure. So enclosure has to do when children have a need to create a boundary with enclosing objects. Do you remember that first picture with that child that was enclosed and he built around himself and he had all the pebbles going around in a positioning way? That was also a really powerful picture for enclosure because he was enclosed himself and he was enclosing the balls, and it was obvious that that child loved positioning and enclosure play schemas. They like to build walls when they play with blocks. There's everything is always covered, or they like to put things inside their constructions and close those constructions, or they like to put things inside containers and take them out, or cover them with lids, or hide things in boxes, or hide things in purses. So purses, we're talking trajectory, but we're also talking enclosure. We can also see enclosure when it comes to coloring. Children that love to enclose their art. Forts are one of the best ways of enclosure. Children love forts, covering themselves with pillows, with blankets, building around themselves, building houses out of cardboard. These are all free activities and materials that you can use to promote enclosing. Enclosing also looks like that. So you see all the block play and children putting things inside the block play. Again, Play-Doh is present. They can build with recycled loose parts and Play-Doh. You can also see enclosure when it comes to building things. I love the nugget couches. Those are one of the best investments, and you don't have to buy them new. They sell them in Facebook Marketplace all the time for half the price, and you need to, because you cannot build enough with only one, but you can build with the triangles, with the other parts, and children absolutely love creating forts, and it's really easy to do so with the nugget couches. That's not sponsored, by the way. Orientation. So this schema is key for sensory and visual development. So we've talked physics, we've talked math, we've talked fine motor and sensory. This one, orientation, has to, and we also talked about executive functions. Within all of them, we have executive functions embedded, but positioning will give place to planification and organization in a great way. Orientation has to do with helping children understand that the same object can look different depending on the point of view and how their bodies move. So you see this in children, and this is one of the only play schemas that I don't have enough pictures, but I can tell you about it. So when it comes to you playing with light, magnifier glasses, when children like to hang from the monkey bars upside down, or they like to lay on the floor and paint on their backs, or when we paint on an easel, which is a different surface, or when they like to sit in particular places and positions. When it comes in my house, my both boys love to play with these nuggets, and they love to climb, and they love to make slides, and they love to stack them up and make towers and climb the towers. That also has to do a little bit with risky play, And that's a different and complete new training. But children need some sort of risk to feel successful, to feel that they can do it on their own, to problem solve, and to um, feel that they've got it, that they can actually try something and achieve it. When it comes to orientation, we want to offer materials that offer the opportunity to change our position and the way, the different perspective that we are seeing objects at that when it comes to play. So marble runs are also great ways of positioning how we build all of these ball runs as well. So what can we do? All of the things that I already said. Trajectory is, I believe, my last play schema. And this shows up when children have a constant need to explore how objects or their own bodies move through space. So I've been showing you trajectory since slide number 1, but I'm going to give you a more graphic visual of how trajectory looks. So children that we think are hyper might not necessarily be hyper and might cool down with trajectory because they're engaging that movement and how things go from place to place. So the activity that I did with the car involved both rotation and trajectory. Those kids were soothed just with those cylinders that I had to offer. Some activities that offer trajectories, so bubbles. Again, when we have sensory play and we have containers, little pitchers, cups, pouring one thing and transferring one liquid to the other container, or dirt, mud kitchens. Mud kitchens are one of the best investments that you can do for your children at home and also at school, because they can just play with dirt, with petals, with all the loose parts that they can find outside, all the acorns. Now that it's fall time, you can play with acorns. And if you offer pots and pretend pots and different recycled materials, they can play with the water. So a mud kitchen offers an endless variety of play schemas. What can you do? You can also set up intentional provocations like this one. The first one is just beads with these protein scoops. If you don't save them, start collecting them, because those are one of the best items to use when it comes to trajectory, because they're easy to grab and they will move them from one place to another. So you can use them for liquids, for grains. For, in this case, I added beads, and again, my beloved egg cartons that I use both plastic for things that I like to wash, and the cardboard ones if I want to paint them. That's also transformation, and change them into art projects. You can also offer, as I mentioned before, little cards, little things to be pushed. These will be more predominant in children that are 1, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. Little by little, they will swap that for the strider or their bicycle or their scooter, because their trajectory will involve their whole body in a more skilled and more complex type of play. Trajectory also involves, and this one also has to do with transformation. The first one is oobleck, just cornstarch with water. And in this case, I added a little bit of tempera paint. It transforms, but it also moves to one place to another. You can also layer it. So let's do racks, or like calendars, or objects that will include holes, that have holes, because all these mixes will go down and you will see the trajectory of that particular material that you are using. Once again, remember that we never tell the children how to use the materials. We offer the materials, we observe, and they will discover, they will figure it out. The activity on the right is also a great way. I love to have a sensory table, and not only at school, but at home, because it is easy. Right now I have kinetic sand, but this rice that you see here has been with me for more than 5 years. I store it in a tight container and sealed container, and I have measuring cups, I have funnels, I have those little tins. I like to pair aluminum tins with grains because of the sound and also that sensory input as well. Um, you can have calendars. You can have all sorts of objects within that you can find in your own kitchen to promote these type of play. You don't need a sensory table. You can just grab a large container and pour the grains and play with that. All right, so play invitations, as I mentioned before, play invitations are a way to connect with the child. It's a way to get them started into play, but they are not required. I like to use play invitations when children are younger, when they are 2, 3, 4, or 5 year olds that do not have such strong um, play skills, because that will give them that push to get started. And it will evolve. Again, I will never tell a child how to use a particular material. They will discover. If they're not engaged, what I do is I start playing myself. They will come. They will immediately join me. Um, they will evolve with time. Right material. Holidays are coming. You don't need all that junk that's on the list. You don't need the character castle. You don't need the, in my case, the Paw Patrol. My boys want all those Paw Patrols cars and all of that. They're not getting any of that, because if you just get the characters, they can use the characters and pair them with all the open-ended materials that you have to offer. And that is the biggest gift. When we choose the right materials, and again, the right materials not necessarily need to be expensive. I'm talking about tiles and I'm talking about blocks because those are essentials, but you can start collecting your protein or baby formula cups. You can, the baby formula tins are great because they make that sound. And I don't know if magnets connect to those. I have not tested it, but you can try and see if they connect. All the wrappers, the wrappers of food, those are great items that you can use for connection as well. You can use paper, hole punchers, you can use pipe cleaners. Opportunities are endless. When you choose the right materials, you choose open-ended toys and open-ended materials. I have a lot of content around the topic, and over getting closer to the holidays, I'm going to be sharing a lot about the right toys, the right materials to collect. And instead of getting all this junk that children need, have your family members come up together and gift your child or children magnetic tiles, only magnetic tiles. That's how I got my magnetic tile collection. Over one Christmas, I said the 3 kids are only getting magnetic tiles, so team up and just give them that one thing. And that's how we build a collection. They don't need anything else. So you can just think about right resources. And now that whenever you're going to throw something away, think about it. If it has holes, if it has a way of transporting objects, if it can be lined up, then it can be used for high level and meaningful play. When we observe intentionally, we notice even the unseen. And play schemas come with you as teachers and parents observing play. When we have the time to pause and observe those patterns, to pause and see what our child likes. If we have a sensory seeker, what could calm that sensory seeker? If you have a sensory seeker, having a swing hook in your playroom with a sensory swing, that's what play schema are we talking about with us. When we have a swing, we're offering orientation. That child will probably hang all day long and will swing that swing all day long. So what are the particular traits that your child or student is showing, and how can we nurture those? Are we going to nurture one more than the other? Not necessarily, but we can choose the preferred schema to connect with play. There comes a moment that when children are so connected and engaged with play, they will play with whatever. They will play with the pencil, with the eraser, whatever object they have around, they will come up with a plan. Again, we're talking about plans, action plans, and that will evolve into high level play. past 5 year olds. That's what I expect with children that have been playing since they were young. And of course, again, always having screen time and monitoring, not offering, so that least screen time you can have in this first 6 years of age, and I always say up to age 12, is the biggest gift, because they will engage in what really matters and in what really is important. Okay, I'm almost done. All right, so play stops being a random action. Play stops being a waste of time. Because when we understand play from the foundation, and when we understand here, when I was talking about play schema, how powerful are they? What can they teach our children? We're replacing things that can teach math, physics, distance, science, through observation, through inquiry, using their brains, nurturing their brains, and making connections, rather than just having them memorize letters. Letters will come, letters will be part of this beautiful journey. Play is the biggest gift that we can give children since early years. I want to talk a little bit about this course that I have to offer, and I'm going to share a story about it. I'm going to show you. Let me show my face first. So when this passion of mine, I'm obviously, as you can see, very passionate. But when I started thinking about having my social media and sharing more about play, when I was it was I had two babies in less than 18 months. They were 14 months apart. And I took a sleep class that taught me how to teach my child to fall asleep since the child was a month old and so forth. And of course, you're desperate. You want to sleep. I wanted to make sure that it was hand in hand with child development, and that I would never let my child cry. So, well, I took this class. And as I was going through that class, I thought, as a parent, you're always looking to take all these classes that will take you out of those struggles fast. And I thought, when we become parents, we have no idea what we're doing. Even if you're an educator, it's a different game. It's a complete different thing. So I thought I should just put together a class that teaches parents how play looks like. So module 2 in this class, it's my best-selling class, It's Time to Play, teaches parents. And I thought it was just for parents, but then teachers started buying the class. And I've had more than 600 people who have bought the class, enjoyed it. And I have a lot of teachers too, because the first module talks about play. Then I talk about play schemas, because it is very important. You cannot talk about play, you cannot offer play if you don't understand what play has behind. Then I talk about play and the brain, and what really happens in the brain when children are playing, how play is mental health, how to set up play spaces at home and at school. How does that look like? Because we tend to think that all these play spaces need to be Pinterest perfect. No, they don't need to be Pinterest perfect. They need to be functional. They need to be easy to use for the child, easy to access. We need to have the right materials. I talk about materials. So I created this class, and you can scan it here. And I'm going to send you an email with a 30% off discount. I think tonight or tomorrow it's going to be sent, so you can actually get it just because you participated in this in this workshop. So this is one of the most recommended trainings that I always give parents, because if we understand how play looks like, and as educators, if we understand the basic foundations of play, we will respect play, we will promote play, and we will always put play before our convenience and before screen time. All right, so now questions. Let me see if I see questions here. I don't see any questions in the chat, only in the private chat. But that's pretty much about it. I'm gonna wait like 3 more minutes. Thank you so much. I see a lot of my um, community families here. I love you. I appreciate you learning more and more and more. And maybe this will help you understand all the crazy things that I do every day with your children. For those of you who are watching later, you can always reach out to me and send me a message. There was a freebie that came with Play Schemas. I don't know if you downloaded the freebie, but if you go to any of my social media posts and comments free, it will take you to that one landing page. And that freebie has a lot of activities per Play Schema. So you can also enjoy that. And if you even want more and more and more, I have a membership called the Play Lab. That's an easy link that I'm going to share with you right now. The Play Lab has endless activities because they're not all there yet. So the Play Lab has all the activities that I've done over the years, and it also has a section that talks about play schemas, and it gives you materials, resources. It's an endless laboratory of play. So I created that resource initially for teachers, but again, parents started buying it, and we have more than 100 current active members that enjoy being part of the Play Lab. You have all the materials already done. Let me see if I can give you a sneak and peek here. Let me show you. All right, let me share my screen. One second. All right, so let me show you how the Play Lab looks like. And all right, so we have, let me see what is the view that you have. There you go. All right, so I've built this over time. So if you see here to the left, this is the menu. So learn with me. This is a library of resources that I've created in both English and Spanish. So per topic, you will find capsules and you'll have advice and tips in the particular domains. So you will have articles and you will have resources within all these areas. I keep adding as I keep creating, I keep adding to these spaces. Then you have Play Essentials. So you have like cards that you can put together. You have, I have brand discounts also for different toys. I have libraries of resources, loose parts in different types of materials. You have trays, ideas of trays that you can put together with all these loose parts. You have mud kitchen essentials and things that you can do with mud kitchens. Even if you are homeschooling or teaching, you have lesson plan templates. Then if you see here, there's a whole section that talks about play schemas and how it works. You have screen-free entertainment ideas when you go to restaurants or other places that you don't want to use technology. Then you have activity banks. Let me show you the Halloween activity bank. So these are theme-based, and they have absolutely all the activities that I've created over time. And as I mentioned, I have not finished uploading all my albums. So I add on a monthly basis. And as I continue to create, I keep adding so that we have activities for all ages, from science to light play. So all the activities I created, open-ended play. So these by themselves, these are all play schemas here. So you have also a collection by age. So 2 and 3 year olds, 4 and 5 year olds in all subject areas, 6 to 8 years old. And I continue to create for the 9 year olds. So very soon I will have another range because I grow with my own daughter. So I will eventually have a 9 to 10 year old section. So the Play Lab, I already sent. Did I send? No, I didn't send the link. I sent it in the wrong chat. Let me send the link here. That link, it's also on my website. You can access the Play Lab on I think trimester or yearly plan, and you can, it's an app as well, so it's very easy to use and friendly, and materials, sometimes you'll have more complex materials, but I try to use everyday objects and materials that you can replace within the experiences that we have to offer. So this is all for now. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that you can put this into action, that you can share with others. This recording is going to be available for a little while on the website. After that, this is a course that I will be selling later on. So you just got lucky yourselves. You can access that recording if you want to see this again and take more notes and make changes. But overall, I hope that you enjoyed and that you have a great rest of your night. Good evening.